You know how there are like hundreds of women now making millions on like Instagram and TikTok and OnlyFans? I kind of feel like this is the exact opposite of that.
Good. Today I am in Hocking Hills State Park in Ohio doing the Grandma Gatewood Trail, which is a 6-mile path that she used to hike annually in January when it's freezing cold. But she did that up until 1973, so she would have been somewhere around 85 years old, because when she thru-hiked the AT in 1955, she was 67 years old. And this is still an ongoing thing that happens every year and has continued to grow over time. So I think several years ago they estimated there were 4,000 people that came out to do the hike, and this is, you know, after she's passed away.
They raise on the farm in addition to you?
Tobacco and corn, wheat, and a little cane.
Little cane?
I remember first hearing about Grandma Gatewood when I was thru-hiking the AT, and I knew that she was the first woman to thru-hike the AT, but I really didn't give it much more thought than that. But over the years I've heard that she had a very inspiring story, and that one particular book about her was a great read. So on my thru-hike of the Florida Trail, I decided to get the audiobook and give it a shot, and I fell in love with her story. Now, it's not a beautiful story all around because she was the survivor of some serious abuse. Her and her husband had 11 children, and during her pregnancy with all of those children, he laid his hands on her, and before and after that time period too. So she ended up divorcing him, which was kind of unheard of in that time, and raised all of her kids. And not to sell short the experiences that she went through before thru-hiking the AT, but I think what I found most inspiring, or what hit me, was that she learned about the AT from an article in a National Geographic that she saw at the doctor's office, and decided, hey, that sounds like it would be a pretty cool trip, and nobody really has done this trail before. Earl Schaefer, but no woman had ever done the trail, and you know, I think that's something I'd kind of like to do. And then eventually she gathered up some stuff and went out and hit the trail. She didn't have any fancy backpacking gear, and they did have backpacking gear then. There were Boy Scouts and rucksacks, you know, Army military gear. There were things that could have been used, but she just took what she had and decided she was going to do this thing, and she did it not just one time, but actually 3 times total, 2 thru-hikes and then 1 piece together hike. And then from Missouri to Oregon on the Oregon Trail. And you know, so many people will spend months, years, some decades planning to do a thru-hike of the AT and thinking that they have to have the most expensive gear. But I think her story just really proves that that's not true.
We've gone like a mile and a half.
Totally involuntary. Okay. Shaking in my boots. This is old man's cave.
Well, I mean, I think it's up.
Like, I don't know what it looks like. Because you can't camp in the Hocking Hills State Park area, at least on the Grandma Gatewood Trail, we're going to relocate after we complete this trail and do a section of the Buckeye Trail. When I knew that this was definitely going to happen and I had started collecting the gear, I thought, well, how am I going to document this? Because I'm not even going to have a cell phone with me So can I really justify carrying a bunch of camera equipment, and how would that really work anyway? So I mentioned it to Aaron, who is the editor of this channel, and he said, well, I've got some gear I've been wanting to test out on the trail anyway. I can come along and document it for you. And I was like, oh, that sounds perfect.
Yeah, I didn't record any of that.
Oh no. Well, next time. In fact, if we don't have a video of that paper sack with the candy in it, I'll just quit. I deserve that. I have been absolutely thrilled about this trip, and I mean, it's kind of shameful, honestly, how excited I've been about using this gear that I've gathered up for this purpose. Way more so than any other backpacking gear I've ever owned or tested in the past. I started researching like crazy to find out if I was gonna do this thing, could I get stuff from the 1950s just like she had? And what exactly did she have? So I got a newspapers.com subscription and was researching any article I could find where people had interviewed her while she was hiking. There are some pictures online, not too many though, so I could see kind of what she had on or what she was carrying. And then through documentaries and the audiobook I mentioned that I had listened to. So I decided I would not carry anything that I couldn't confirm that she carried or wouldn't have been reasonable to imagine that she carried. The only thing gear-wise that I believe I've got in my pack and I don't know that she carried was a comb and a mirror, but I still went old school and not with something I would normally carry nowadays. Some of the staple items she was known for was her shower curtain, which was used to lie on, and probably a makeshift shelter when necessary. A blanket, well, I don't know exactly what type of blanket, I couldn't ever determine that. There was no mention of a quilt or an army blanket, but I knew in the 50s era it would make sense. The army blankets would be floating around, so that's what I got, an army blanket. Her denim sack that she carried everything in, and her Keds. I knew she hand sewed her sack that she carried, but I didn't think that the museum that has one of her sacks would probably let me borrow it. So I got some help from Marty's mom and sewed my own. I was able to find a pair of 1950s era basketball Keds. Once I got them, I realized that they were a little bit too big, but I know that she received shoes from people while she was on trail that did not always fit perfectly.
Yeah, that's right. Cool.
All right, well, I'm gonna unpack everything real quick. One of the things that I found to be a little tricky for this trip was waterproofing, because in normal circumstances, I'd just throw a pack liner in my pack and anything I didn't want to get wet, I'd put in there. But I don't think Gossamer Gear was slinging pack liners back in the mid-50s, so I decided if I got in a pinch and it rained, I'd just throw everything I didn't want getting wet inside the shower curtain and then tie some cord around it to seal it off. Thankfully, that worked wonderfully, but I don't know exactly how she waterproofed things, but I'm imagining she had to do something like that. Oh man. He decided. Okay, moment of truth. Yay! I don't know if you'll be able to see that or not, but at least it'll help us. Well, of course, I would end up not hiking on the 6-mile Grandma Gatewood Trail. I really don't know what to do right now. I don't know whether to walk the road. I mean, yeah, we could camp here, but then 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, somebody's gonna come to pick us out, and then we get to go do the keys and all that.
If we can start walking now. Just walk the road back. Because, I mean, like, what else? For all we know, no one will come over here, or...
Yeah, I don't understand why this couldn't be straightforward. But I couldn't do this without... It seemed like the most logical way to do a Grandma Gatewood type experience would be to start on the path that she walked annually at Old Man's Cave, and it goes up to Ash Cave, 6 miles, and it's known as the Grandma Gatewood Trail here in Hocking Hills State Park. Well, they don't let you camp in Hocking Hills State Park on the trails, and they actually close the forest at dark. So it made sense to do it as a day hike and then relocate to another part of the Buckeye Trail where I would do a continuous walk for several days. Well, that would work out just fine if I actually remembered the keys to the vehicle that I had parked at the end near Ash Cave.
She went this way, right?
Yeah. But I guess I was saying, like, where does the state park... Please be a park ranger. Yes, I think it is. There's one in here. Hello?
Okay.
Is it a park ranger or something?
Yeah, they got a logo on the side of it. Well, maybe. They might make us walk the road. Yeah, they're getting to the car. We gotta at least let them see us.
We were planning to do a little section hike of the Buckeye Trail, not in the state park, so we could camp like on the trail. And
Right, yeah.
So I don't know if you're allowed to give us a ride or not.
I most certainly can.
Okay,
in
because I know,
circumstances like this, I'm
I was
allowed
going
to.
to say in government vehicles, because, well, I had an infected ingrown toenail one time on the Continental Divide Trail, and they couldn't give me a ride. They had to call an ambulance.
Because of that? Are you serious?
Yes.
Just give you a ride.
Well, that's what I said, but
This is Yellowstone, though.
I used to work, right?
okay.
And I used to work.
I can at least get you a ride
Okay.
to your car, and then we'll go from there. So,
All right.
hop in with me. We'll make it happen.
Tried to be Granny Gatewood, ended up needing help like Granny Gatewood. Thankfully, the state park went looking for us because a vehicle was unattended and you're not supposed to camp overnight or park overnight. And so the ranger is giving Aaron a ride back to his car that has my keys in it so that we can continue with the plan. But just kind of comical. Be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you get it more than maybe you really wanted it. So now I'm getting the true Granny Gatewood experience. Get out of here.
Are you gonna climb in there?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, I bet it's in that big old bag. Oh, man. Next time I'm sewing a sack with compartments. Two boxes. Ah.
So wait, so what are you doing though?
I'm gonna put these rocks on the fire, and once the wood cooks down, then we'll flip them out, and I'm gonna dig down and put them level with the dirt, and then I don't know if I'm gonna put leaves around it some, so it's more comfortable, but I don't know yet about that.
And then you were like, so
And I'm gonna lay on them.
you're laying on top of
Yes. That's why I was saying.
after they're warm, and then they're just gonna stay warm.
I mean, I hope so. I just don't want them to be too warm. But
And you know that she did this.
Oh, it says she heated rocks and then slept on top of them to keep warm. So she slept on top of leaves, just laid up on some leaves all the time. So she might have just, and I mean, she probably didn't, I don't know how long she kept them in the fire, and she may have just warmed them up next to the fire. Maybe that's what I should do.
So you don't have, so the fire can keep going.
Yeah, I wasn't going to kill the fire, but I was just going to...
But that's the only way you can get them out.
Well, I was going to take a rock and flip them, a stick and flip them out.
Okay.
And then, like, push them over the rest.
Let me move everything I own away from the fire before you do
I don't know. Okay, so if you were going to lay on some warm rocks, what would you do?
If you have a fire, why don't you just use that to keep warm?
Because I wanted to try this.
Okay. Well, I'm saying, like, in theory.
Because you're not going to man the fire all night.
But the rock's going to stay warm all night?
No, I don't know. But I'm going to try this regardless, so. I just want to see how realistic it feels after I have this experience.
Maybe she did it once and was like, this is stupid.
Maybe,
like,
but
maybe,
I want to try. Or maybe I'm onto something. I'll always be like, holy crap, this is incredible. Oh my god. Okay.
I don't know what that means.
I mean, it's so warm. Like, I'm sweating, but it's not comfortable. This doesn't work. I would have to dig down level with the ground, and I can't because there's rock under here because there's a cave.
It's like maybe you could just cuddle with the rock.
Maybe so.
Instead of laying on top of it.
Yeah, maybe. Like way beside it.
Like cuddle with it.
Okay, it's still pretty hot. Actually, yes.
Maybe that's what she meant.
This is the most comfortable it's been on this trip. Oh. Like, by far. I'd rather have a down sleeping bag and an inflatable sleeping pad, but this is way warmer than that. I wonder how long it'll stay warm.
If only she carried a watch so you could time it.
Aha! So funny is I carried one of these on the AT. Never had it. I can't. No reason to use it.
You carried the whole time?
It was a while. It was several states. I don't know, I guess I thought I might be starving to death and find a random can of food on the trail. I have no idea why I had it for real. P38, survived. I didn't know how to use it. I'm sorry.
Are you talking to the can right now?
To you.
Why? I guess if I was waiting to eat beans, I guess I'd be pretty upset.
How, yeah. I had to put on my,
Everything?
yeah, my pants and my rain jacket and
That rock couldn't.
stay warm all night. No. Oh, my hip. If I had just pulled this out and gotten on the bed, I'd have been good for a lot longer. I'm certain that there were a lot of things to eat and drink in the 1950s that are still around today, but what I saw documented for sure that she had on trail was cans of black beans, powdered milk, nuts, bouillon cubes, peppermint, and raisins. So I've had a very limited diet for this little journey, but I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever had peppermint sticks on trail before, and that's something that I'll definitely be using going forward. One of the things that I didn't really consider how I deal with is the mess that the trash makes on trail, and normally that's not an issue because I've got a big old Ziploc bag that I put everything in. If something's kind of leaky or wet, it just is trapped in a waterproof barrier. But out here with this gear, it's been a little interesting, not only because something like a can of black beans can leak and be gross in a bag, or Vienna sausages, but also because it's a can, it's got a sharp edge, so I've got to be careful when I reach back in to get something else that I'm not slicing my hand open, or that it's not rubbing on other stuff like my vinyl shower curtain, which would be a makeshift shelter, and putting a hole in it.
Oh.
Hello.
How are you guys?
Fine, how are you?
We knew you were here at the bottom of the hill. Did you guys camp here last night?
We did.
Was it awesome?
Yes.
What a chilly, huh?
Yeah, it was chilly, but I mean, Never had camped in a cave, so that's off the
pretty
bucket
cool.
list now. You know?
Yeah.
I really thought that toting this sack was going to be much more of a nightmare than it has been. It's not been bad at all. Once I got the hang of it, you just gotta kind of counterbalance. You gotta have enough weight in the back and in the front to kind of sling it over the shoulder. At least that's the most comfortable way I found it. But after I'd waterproofed everything and I had so much stuff gathered up in the shower curtain, I ended up having to do like the Santa Claus method, where I held on to the stem of it and just let it hang down behind my back, just because I couldn't balance it out. But I found the best way. I mean, right now I'm not even having to hold it up with my other hand, just hung over my shoulder. Now give it a few steps and I'll have to readjust and everything, but I mean, my hips have honestly really appreciated the break from a normal pack. And I was gonna hand sew it because I'm not really good with the sewing machine, but I'm really glad that I ended up getting Marty's mom to help me, because it made it much more durable, and I'm afraid it might have busted out if I had hand sewed it. One thing that I've picked up on this trail is if I'm ever freezing cold on another hike and I've got a fire going, I will definitely throw some smaller rocks in the fire, let them warm up, and then once they cool off enough, throw them in a wool sock or something and throw them down in the bottom of my sleeping bag, because while they won't stay warm all night, it's a good jump start just to get you all toasty before you go to sleep, and then hopefully you maintain some of that warmth inside your bag. I don't think I'll be sleeping on any more picnic tables like she did though. Oh my God, we can see the dust up there. I heard something cracking. I thought it was just squirrels throwing something down, but holy crap. Oh, the whole tree just fell across the trail. Oh wow. Talk about not being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Oh wow. That's the first. Got to sleep in a cave and got to almost get crushed by a tree. I would have never guessed that's what that noise was. There's the other part of it. Across the trail, and the trunk is back there. Ooh, I need to go buy a Loadout ticket when I get done with this trail. I gotta brag on this old school clothing that I got for this trip, because honestly, I thought it was gonna be a complete sufferfest. I felt like I'd be chafed or just extremely uncomfortable, but other than getting weird looks from people, it hasn't been problematic at all. This blouse that I have is from the 50s. I got it off of Etsy or eBay. That's where I got all the old stuff. But it's been durable. It's held up fine. It's been cool. It is warmer during the day and cooler at nights, but also these vintage dungarees, yeah, super stylish. They've been nice, no chafing, not too stiff or uncomfortable. They were still brand new, but so I was afraid not washing them was gonna be a big mistake. They've actually got deep pockets that you can use, because on most girl clothing nowadays it's just for looks, because it's not actually functional because they're too small, or maybe britches are too tight. But either way, they've held up well, and I've actually not been completely miserable hiking in jeans. Finally starting to see a little wear and tear on the 70-year-old pair of Keds tennis shoes, but they've held up pretty well, and I haven't fallen or anything. I really thought that it was going to be a big issue with it being too slick, but I'm impressed. Kind of fond of them, honestly. And I even went as hardcore as to have undergarments that were from the 50s. I got a bra online that was probably used, but I just felt like using a sports bra of modern day would be cheating, because it's comfortable and dries quickly. But this cotton bra has worked just fine. Now, I did draw the line at not getting used antique underwear, but I did go with some regular old cotton Walmart granny panties. All of that to say that, sure, being in my normal synthetic clothing might have been more comfortable. It would have dried more quickly, but this has worked fine for me. So literally, you could go in clothes that you have backpacking if you wanted to, or pick up something at the thrift store if you don't want to ruin stuff that you already have. But there's no need to have the top-notch brands for athletic clothing to be able to go out and hit the trails. I was thinking today that I'm really glad that I didn't allow this to just be a fleeting thought, and I actually did something and turned it into an action, because man, I sure do have a lot more respect for Grandma Gatewood now. Not that I didn't before, but in already doing the Appalachian Trail and now dabbling in her gear a little bit, and thinking about how tired and sore I was in my late 20s, you know, and she was 67 when she did. I mean, she was an absolute trooper. And, you know, I really think, as cliche as it sounds, that if people took the time to try to understand things from other people's perspectives, that we would all be a lot more educated and well-rounded. And it never hurts to try walking a mile in somebody else's shoes.